Good news, everybody. The subbrief strike is over. I entered into good faith negotiations with the owner and found out it was me. So I gave myself everything I wanted. And the Navy made a comment saying that they're going to build 3 more Freedom class LCSs up there in Wisconsin and I can stick it. So apparently that's a win-win for us. I'll take that all day long. And thanks for the Navy for having a sense of humor about things. You know, didn't have that when I was in. Anyway, let's talk about Sebastopol here. You guys need to chill out, okay? I posted a video earlier this week right as this information was coming out, and I got lambasted for not including it in the previous video. These things take time to put together, folks. All right, enough of my excuses. I have the new information. Looks like the improved Kilo class submarine that was in the dry dock in Sebastopol that we talked about last week was hit twice. It's still believed to be Storm Shadow missiles that hit this thing, despite the angle that it is. Keep in mind, this improved Kilo is down in the basin of a dry dock. So in order for the weapon to hit it, it had to come in over the lip of the dry dock in a very vertical fashion. Maybe that's the way Storm Shadow missiles work. I don't know. But thanks for correcting me on the warhead size. I got lied to by Google, which happens a lot to most of us. The warhead of the Storm Shadow is approximately 1,000 pounds, and one of you naval nerds from the War Thunder forums said it was actually 990 pounds. And those guys tend to be very accurate, but thanks for the update on the war. I was wrong about the warhead size. It's 1,000 pounds per missile. But the damage that the second strike left was very critical, and I'll show you why here. Here's a side-by-side comparison of where the second hole is on the starboard side, just after the sail, and partially, down. It's not just topside; it's hitting that water line and below, and you can see it's very close to the main battery well. It does have 2 battery wells. This is the aft battery well. If that's damaged at all, that is going to take forever to fix. Obviously, the pressure hull is broken here. It's wide open essentially. And part of it appears to have maybe gone into the engine room as well as the crew quarters, galley, and some equipment spaces there. So this really looks like a complete write-off to me. This is a scrap submarine, but never underestimate the pride of the Russians. They may be so mad that this happened that they will spend years repairing the submarine to eventually bring it back to service out of spite. So that's always a possibility, but the damage on this clearly points towards scrapping and salvaging what you can out of the submarine. All right, there you go. That's your update. Now let's head over to Joint Base Charleston, where the U.S. Marine Corps lost another F-35 airplane. I don't know how this is happening. How are we losing so many planes and sadly some pilots and crews in such a short period of time, man? We really want some answers. But the Marine Corps completed its exhaustive and systematic search of the area around South Carolina and southern North Carolina after a pilot ejected on Saturday afternoon, a bright and clear sunny day in South Carolina, from his F-35 as he flew near the joint base. It's not clear why he ejected at this time, because the plane that was at about 1,000 feet at time of ejection did not crash immediately. It flew by itself for a period of time that has not been made public yet before eventually crashing. So what I want to know from the experts out there that know about these planes, this specific type of F-35 and pilot ejection seats, is why would a pilot eject from a plane that's 1,000 feet in the air and not apparently in any peril of crashing immediately? Even if the plane had a problem, why wouldn't he stay with the plane and try to solve it if he has time to do that? So after the pilot ejected, the United States Marine Corps asked for public assistance to assist in the recovery on the Joint Base Charleston Facebook page. And to their credit, the Facebook community responded. Even Grandpapa went out, but he was unsuccessful. They didn't find him right away. So this led to wild speculation as everyone's looking for this pilot in this plane. Knuckleheads get on social media and start saying things that are absolutely mental, like this post, breaking news. Early unconfirmed reports that an unidentified F-35 stealth fighter aircraft has touched down in Havana. I don't know how he came up with that. He just made that up, but that started the snowball, folks, of craziness. The next one was, Dear Joe Biden, thank you for delivering an F-35 to Havana. An unidentified F-35 jet has landed in Havana. An F-35 jet that went missing has landed in Havana. When JFK tried to take this country back, the CIA had him killed. Hashtag breaking, unidentified F-35 lands in Havana. Breaking, unidentified F-35, likely the one that's missing, lands in Havana, Cuba. social media influencers are just peddling clicks now because they get paid per impression, not paid for telling the truth or any kind of journalistic, product whatsoever. And I hold the public accountable as well for spreading this nonsense. Have some skepticism, people. All right, so what really happened? The Facebook Mobilized Joint Scooter Brigade, or JBSB as I call them, gave up their afternoon bingo to help find a stealth fighter. This is what journalism looks like, by the way. The F-35 was eventually located north of the joint base. The pilot was recovered. He had, very minor injuries, taken to the hospital in stable condition. He's going to be fine. But this was part of a training squadron, and the pilot did eject safely. So the Marine Corps responded to this incident by ordering another safety stand down. That's related to aviation. This is the second safety stand down in 3 weeks. You should never even have a need for a safety stand down, much less ones that are literally back to back like this for the similar incidents. So what I want to know is what the hell is going on with Marine Corps aviation? And that's not a pluralistic statement. I really want some answers for this. So they need to do an investigation with public results, because there needs to be public accountability to the Marine Corps on what the hell they're doing with their planes, and to their families. Why are we losing pilots and crew members? And thank God this pilot's okay. But what about the next one? When's the next one going to happen? Is it going to be 3 weeks again? Let's hope not. All right. Let's move on. Jesus, take the wheel. This is what it looks like when Jesus drives your aircraft carrier. All right, let's head on over to the West Pacific region, where we can talk about all them Chinese over there. What are they up to? Well, they're putting on an air show, an air power demonstration, if you will, flying dozens of sorties of fighter planes and refuel jets and long-range aircraft, long-range radar detection, AWACS, essentially aircraft, hundreds of planes south and west of the Chinese province of Taiwan. South of Japan, they have sent a hydrogeographical survey ship and intelligence collection ship, if I could throw in some opinion there, to map subsea cables locations south of Japan, north of Okinawa, south of Japan, in that region. And I'm kind of confused as to why. My initial assumption was that, well, of course they're doing that. They're going to tap communication cables, or at least know where they are so they can break them in the event of conflict coming out with them in Japan or Korea or anyone else. But whenever I looked at the East Asia crossing and city-to-city network, I was shocked. A lot of the cables that they're mapping right now come out of China. It's their own cables. And then I looked a little bit closely and I got more confused. And this is where I need expert help from you guys in the comments. A lot of cities, Hong Kong, Taiwan cities, Shanghai, and Yunzhen, are all using the same network. So do the fiber optics, as they go under the seabed, are they spliced together using the same fiber optic cable, or are they just in similar paths that is shown here on this picture? Are they separate cables, or are they all the same? Because if they're all the same, you would think China would have an idea of where they're at. Maybe not, but they're going out there and they're verifying it with this ship right now, and I'm not sure why. What is the benefit here? Put that in the comments. All right. The Reaper drone's big brother, Triton, is now operational, or really close to being operational. They had this squadron, this VU-19, has been operating out of NAS Jax down there in Florida for about a year, getting their act together, getting organized, getting personnel, and acquiring multiple MQ-4C Tritons. And look how big this thing is. This is a big boy right here. So this is like an upgraded version, or a different version of like the Global Hawk, in my opinion. I don't know a lot about UAVs, but I know this one is very popular and capable, and there's a lot of buzz about this one coming online. They're moving it to Guam, where it's going to become operational. I believe that's their permanent forward deployed position. This is another piece, and a critical piece, to something we've talked about here recently over the Indo-Pacific region called deterrence by detection. And so this is going to be one of the many vehicles doing the detecting. It is a long-range, high-endurance, high-altitude, unmanned aerial vehicle. It can stay out there a long time and see very detailed things on the ground. All right, part of how this works, and credit to CSIS, that's Center for Strategic and International Studies, for the next couple graphics here, we have already established a network, and that word's important. It's a web of low Earth satellites, low Earth orbital satellites that are going to connect communications from these unmanned aerial assets to shore-based facilities, not just in Guam, but around the world. So even though the flights are generating out of Guam going forward, the information is going to be shared everywhere. And the reason why the network of satellites is so important, if one or two get taken out, it will not totally disrupt the communication network. We can maintain, it adds resiliency to the satellite communication network. That's really all you need to take from that. And this is just an idea, a diagram of what that looks like. All right. The second one is the recommendation from CSIS to whoever wants to take the recommendation, which is the unspoken Pentagon right there. Pentagon does not copy and paste these things into operational plans, but they certainly take inspiration from think tanks like CSIS. And so here they're saying, hey, you want to, take a look at Spratly Islands. That's very, important. Of course, the South China Sea and a lot of these areas overlap. This is also pretty common sense recommendation. So we can, assume that this is going to happen. These are going to be areas where these drones, including the new Triton, are going to be operating for long periods of time, documenting everything that goes on here so we can begin bringing it to the public. We've known for a long time there's a lot of suspected and unverified with video footage, illegal fishing, for example, going on. Not just China doing it too, other countries doing it as well. This is one of the benefits we're going to have, is we're going to be able to document who's fishing where when they're not supposed to be. And then there's even more valuable information we can get from that as well. But that's just the beginning there. All right, Christian Horner throws the Singapore Grand Prix to avoid an FIA investigation. Credit to Xavier Vassiver over there at Naval News. He wrote a great story that I recommend you all go read about Naval Groups. That's France. New extra large uncrewed underwater vehicle. And it doesn't even have a name yet. It's so new. So here is a diagram from Covert Shores. Credit to H.I. Sutton for the original artwork here. I added my own information over top of it, so any mistakes are mine. Let's just put that out there. So at the top, you have the new oceanographic underwater drone demonstrator, they're calling it, because this is a privately funded XLUUV that Naval Group is building on its own dime. So the actual money spent is not public. This is just my best guess at this point as to how much they're putting towards this project, because it's getting near completion. Below that is the Manta. This is the UK unmanned underwater vehicle that they built on an absolute shoestring budget. So the UK taxpayers got a lot for their money, of approximately $3.7 million after conversion from pounds to dollars for their XLUUV. Now, to my best knowledge, the UK one is not operational yet. It was just a demonstrator, if you will. And the same with the ORCA. ORCA is the American version of the XLUUV, clearly much larger than all the other ones. This is being built by Boeing and Huntington Ingalls. It is 3 years behind right now in its development. It's hundreds of millions of dollars over budget, with a total taxpayer expenditure to date of about $700 million. And they're burning at current rate over $200 million a year. So it won't be long before the ORCA sees the $1 billion funding mark. And hopefully we at least have this coming into service, but before that happens, we don't know. But the ORCA is a very expensive, albatross, if you will, around the military budget. And I only bring this up because it's very concerning to me how little progress we've made since 2016. If they've made more progress, they should probably have a few more public announcements, maybe some demonstrations like what Naval Group is doing. And the cost is completely unjustified compared to similar projects over in Europe. Again, I think we need to look at how Naval Group in France does their military development. I think it's very cost effective. All right, but you can't argue with the results. Look at this, folks. This is the United States Navy and the U.S. Coast Guard now all over the world, maintaining international norms, keeping everybody in line as best we can, despite the behavior of a few rogue nations, right? The U.S. Navy literally rules the waves. Right now, you see a lot of us in port. The only real people at sea, it looks like, are the USS George Washington and Theodore Roosevelt right off the west and east coast of the United States. Probably doing local operations, maybe getting ready for the next deployment, because that's really what this is all about. There's a cycle of you come back from deployment where you rest and you maintain your equipment and you restock, and then you go out and you train until you're blue in the face for 6 months, a year, however long it takes, before going on deployment again. So everybody's always in this cycle of deployment, training, and back to deployment again. It never, ever ends. But that's how you stay sharp. That's how you stay on your toes. And that's how we keep our military tradition at sea. All right, this is what Rule Americana looks like now, and I think it looks great. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.